Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashtotar to the Srimad, Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashtotar to the Srimad, Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavin Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. So we'll be on page 432 today. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. What is it, the 9th? Is it the 9th today? 7th. Okay, on this 7th day of August, 2024 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 10, the opulence of the Absolute, text number 10, the third of the 4 essential verses of the Bhagavad Gita. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam tadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te teshang satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam tadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. Teshang satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam tadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. Teshang satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam tadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. Go ahead, Chad. Teshang satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam tadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. Teshang satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam tadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam tadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. Ladies. Teshang satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam tadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. Teshang satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam tadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam tadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. Anyone online?
Tesham satata yuktanam
Teshang satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam
tadami buddhi yogam tam
tadami buddhi yogam tam
yena mam upayanti te.
yena mam upayanti te. Chad, when you're done there, open the door in the alley, in the corridor. Oh, you can. No, not that door. Not that door. The door in the corridor. Okay. Word by word meanings. Tesham, unto them, satata yuktanam, always engaged, bhajatam, in rendering devotional service, priti purvakam, in loving ecstasy, tadami, I give, buddhi yogam, real intelligence, tam, that, yena, by which, mam, unto me, upayanti, come, te, they. Translation, Krishna says to Arjuna and to us, to those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Purport. In this verse, the word buddhi yogam is very significant. We may remember that in the second chapter, the Lord, instructing Arjuna, said that he had spoken to him of many things and that he would instruct him in the way of buddhi yoga. Now buddhi yoga is explained. Buddhi yoga itself is action in Krishna consciousness. That is the highest intelligence. Buddhi means intelligence, and yoga means mystic activities or mystic elevation. When one tries to go back home, back to Godhead, and takes fully to Krishna consciousness in devotional service, his action is called buddhi yoga. In other words, buddhi yoga is the process by which one gets out of the entanglement of this material world. The ultimate goal of progress is Krishna. People do not know this. Therefore, the association of devotees and a bona fide spiritual master are important. Or we should say essential. It's been changed to essential. One should know that the goal is Krishna, and when the goal is assigned, then the path is slowly but progressively traversed, and the ultimate goal is achieved. When a person knows the goal of life but is addicted to the fruits of activities, he is acting in karma yoga. When he knows that the goal is Krishna, but he takes pleasure in mental speculations to understand Krishna, he is acting in jnana yoga. And when he knows the goal and seeks Krishna completely in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, he is acting in bhakti yoga or buddhi yoga, which is the complete yoga. This complete yoga is the highest perfectional stage of life. A person may have a bona fide spiritual master and may be attached to a spiritual organization, but if he is still not intelligent enough to make progress, then Krishna from within gives him instructions so that he may ultimately come to him without difficulty. The qualification is that a person always engage himself in Krishna consciousness and with love and devotion render all kinds of services. He should perform some sort of work for Krishna, and that work should be done with love. If a devotee is not intelligent enough to make progress on the path of self-realization, but is sincere and devoted to the activities of devotional service, the Lord gives him a chance to make progress and ultimately attain to him. Om jnana timarandasya jnanandana shalakaya chakshur unmilitam mena tasmai shri gurave namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, just to recap, because it's nice to read these verses as an organic whole. So, first in the text 8, Krishna answered the question that we are enjoined to ask at the beginning of the Vedanta Sutra. Now, the word Vedanta means the end, anta of Veda, knowledge, the ultimate knowledge. So the Vedanta Sutra is a Vedic book written by Vyasadeva that in aphorisms, very short statements, comprises the conclusions of the Vedas. And the perfect commentary on the Vedanta Sutra is, who knows the answer? Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam. It begins with the second sutra. Janmad yasya yaton vayada tadatashcharte shabigya swarat. So what is it? So that we can learn these sutras. You may not learn them by heart, but it's easy to grasp what it means. First one is atato brahma jigyasa. The word jigyasa in Sanskrit means inquire, be curious about. If you think carefully, you see that our life is inquiring about one thing after another. Our attention is going here and there. Something grabs our attention, we should investigate it. Then if we really want to know it, we may read about it and so forth. But we're directing our attention to answer questions or to get more knowledge. So the injunction here is that now that you're human beings, don't waste time in inquire into the absolute truth. Which is called Brahman, Brahma. Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Jigyasa Brahma. What is that Brahma? Second sutra. Doesn't keep you in suspense. Janmad yasya yataha. Very simple. Janma means birth. Janmashtami. We all know that word. Janmashtami. And it's combined. You see, in Sanskrit, you have two words and they can combine. Janma Adi. Janma Adi means etc. So it becomes Janmad, and then the I becomes a Y because the next word begins with a vowel. So you get Janmad Yasya Yataha. Means you have to, the Brahman is summarized as that from which everything comes, and which sustains everything, and ultimately which destroys everything. That's the absolute truth. Only Krishna can fill that bill. In the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, he has a similar 4 verses, essential verses of the Bhagavatam. It even has a name, Chatur Shloki Bhagavatam. The original Bhagavatam, which was then expanded from 4 verses into 18,000. So it's become very expansive. And Krishna says the same, Ahame vasame vagre nana yat sarasat param. Before there was anything, there was I. I existed. Well, that means that he's the source of everything, right? It's not that difficult. And after everything is created, it's still only I, because it's all my energies. And when everything was wound up, I remain. So only God can say this. So here in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Aham sarvasya bhavo mattak sarva. I created everything, everything comes from me. Now, just to complete the thought, in the very first verse, very first words of the very first verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, echoes the second sutra, Vedanta Sutra. It begins, Janmad yasya, but it goes on, Janmad yasya yaton vayadi tatatashtarti, and describes Krishna in detail. He knows everything, he creates all the modes of nature, and so forth. It goes on. So therefore, that's a perfect entryway into the understanding that the Bhagavatam is the conclusive commentary on Srimad Vedanta Sutra. And that's why Lord Chaitanya, you see, traditionally, all the different lines of Vaishnavas, there's four basic lines that come down. One from the goddess of fortune, one from Lord Shiva, one from the four Kumaras, and one from Lord Brahma. Ours comes down from Lord Brahma. And that's why it's called the Brahma Madhva. Madhva is a very prominent member of the Sampradaya. Sampradaya is a spiritual community, and it comprises acharyas, great souls, and their disciples who then become acharyas. And it's a disciplic succession coming down. Srila Prabhupada, at the end of the introduction to this book, if you have it, he lists the main acharyas, ending with him and beginning with Krishna. There's a list there of maybe 50. And it's very interesting to see, you know. So anyway, the Bhagavatam is saying, okay, this is the answer to what is Brahman. It's the supreme personality of Godhead. It's not some white light. It's not some force. It's a person, supreme person. But he's like us to some degree, but he's eternal and he's all powerful. And he's described throughout the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. So Krishna summarized. So he says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattak sarvam bhavate itimad vabhajante mam buddha bhava samanvata. That's the text state we just read. I am the source of all material and spiritual worlds. The wise who know this well worship me with all their hearts. How? Second verse. Remember, mat chitta madgata prana bodhiyantak parasparam katayantashtamam nityam tushanti chadamanticha. That mat chitta, they place their mind on me. This is in sutra form the whole purpose of the Hare Krishna movement. To give us Kali Yugites, who are, we don't live that long, we're mostly not interested in spiritual matters, we're lazy, and above all, always disturbed. This is the beginning of the Bhagavatam. So how can we become yogis? You know, we can't do the yoga thing, go up to the Himalayas, and you know, that's not going to work. But Krishna came as Lord Chaitanya to give us a very practical means of fixing the mind on Krishna. Just chant this mantra and listen to the music and dance, you see. There's something called Taurya Trikena. This is something that you won't hear much about. Taurya Trikena, it means a threefold process which includes singing, dancing, and playing musical instruments. Now, as we're well aware, that can be a very strong force of Maya. Think of some rock concerts and all kinds of meetings like that. The phone, I don't need to even mention, right? The phone. So that can be a strong way in which you get into the modes and you stay in illusion. But Lord Chaitanya gave us a method by those same things can connect us to Krishna. When you're chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, you're playing the mridanga. I don't play the mridanga drum in the Orthodox fashion, as you probably noticed. But if you really, play nicely, that enhances the kirtan so much. Very important. And of course, the kartals and other instruments. And the big thing is, if you're chanting the name and dancing at the same time, it's much easier to concentrate, right? The whole thing becomes very organic and very natural. And so, and it just cuts out all of that business of, working to control that mind and the breath and all of that. Prabhupada said that the chanting and dancing is naturally pranayama when you're dancing and breathing hard, right? So, that's the second verse. Machittam adgata prana, the life force. Now it's a total program. So that you're chanting and dancing, you're hearing and you're enjoying the prasadam, and it's a festival and everything. But there's also the process of studying and the classes. Prabhupada created the morning program and the evening program. I've been trying to keep the evening program going with this class for the last 30 years. And we have participants. There's Bhakta Chad, he's a member of the ashram, and others who are interested and serious, you know. And sometimes, I remember when I started it, I'd have 2 people, and there's no internet, it's just the 2. And then I had 1, and it was a lady. And I said, I can't give class to a single lady. You know, you have to be at least one other lady, you know, you have to find. So, or anybody. So gradually I got more, you know, students, and so we're doing this for a long time. We've been through the Gita 10, 12 times. So, the point is, Krishna says, I am the source of everything, and those who are intelligent worship me with all their hearts. How? Second verse, by thinking about me, by dedicating their life to me, by getting together, bodhiyantak parasparam, and glorifying me. And what's the result? Tushyanti chadamanti. They become very satisfied and enjoy transcendental pleasure. This is because Krishna is in your heart. The reason why you're pleased, because he's pleased. You see, we should know that. Bhakti means, succinctly, to only take one's pleasure in giving pleasure to Krishna. Now, we find that Krishna is most pleased when you give his devotees pleasure. And then he sees, oh, you're expanding, you know, then he's really pleased. He says that at the end. There is no one more dear to me than he who is explaining this science of bhakti to his devotees. So, that's in the second verse. Tushyanti chadamanti. And what do they do? They're getting the parasparam, means mutually. Now, the next verse, the verse we did today, begins with the word tesham. Now, it can be taken in 2 ways. As a new idea, those who are always linked to me in love and devotion, which is how Prabhupada is perfectly fine. But also it can look back to the previous verse. Because those who are practicing this and are getting to the point where they're always linked to me and worshiping me with love, they're developing the natural love. Our love for Krishna, which is the final goal of bhakti. What are we aiming for with this? You know, not just liberation. Liberation from birth and death is a byproduct of this process. The real goal is that reinstitution in the state of pure love for Krishna, and that includes mukti. So that's why he has priti purvakam. Those who are practicing this and are linked to me and are developing attraction and love for me, I give them the intelligence. We should never forget that Krishna is within our heart at every moment. He's there as a super soul. And from him come knowledge and remembrance and forgetfulness. So if he understands, oh, they're singing my name, they're trying to practice bhakti yoga, then let me give them the intelligence for how they can easily progress. You see, that's what he's saying here. Buddhi yoga. Now, buddhi yoga is of course more robust a word than just buddhi. Buddhi means intelligence. Buddhi yoga means that process by which you can link yourself using your intelligence, because that's our special feature as human beings, to link ourselves to Krishna. And Prabhupada says concisely it means bhakti yoga. Because bhakti, of course, means linking to Krishna in loving devotional service. But why to develop that, how to develop that, what to do, that's all a function of our intelligence. So the intelligence, the purified intelligence is meant to control the lower self. That rascal mind, which can be our enemy or friend, but is in our conditioned state is our enemy. Because it's always taking us away from thinking of Krishna. And so the intelligence control of mind, no, not there, now, here. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Rest in the holy name, you see? And then the beautiful deities and these sounds. And so many wonderful, wonderful poems, Sanskrit poems have been given by our acharyas. Bhagavatam is filled with them. But this morning I was concentrating on one. You'll be pleased to know. First of all, if anyone has a computer, does anyone not have a computer? Okay. Even if you just have a phone, I think you can get it. But there's something called the Vedabase. It's been around for at least 20 years. And it's a compilation primarily of Prabhupada's books. You know, all his books are there. You can easily search through the books. You can read them. You can export them and and send them off to someone else. But it's grown over the years. It's more than Prabhupada's books. It's books that follow Prabhupada's books, or books that inspired Prabhupada to write the books. So I've been working with the archives, which is in North Carolina, a place there. They moved believe it or not, they moved from Los Angeles, which they were there for 20, 30 years. But then they realized, because this is the archives, all of the original photograph, the original manuscripts, everything is there. So I don't know if this is so safe, because there may be an earthquake. So they convinced the authorities, yes, you're right, and so they were able to move everything over to this place in communities, a devotional community in North Carolina. And believe it or not, was it like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe a month after that, there was a major earthquake in Los Angeles, 1994. I remember it. Anyway, I won't go into that, but Krishna works in interesting ways. So they work with this database. So I work with them, and so I sent up some books, that Kushakrata Prabhu had translated. He was a legendary figure now. He was a regular devotee, but he was a super genius. But he was kind of a savant, He was odd also. He was kind of like a avadut, if you know what that means. But he was a genius. He taught himself Sanskrit, and he made it his life's work after a while to just translate as many of the Acharya's books as possible. And he began with Rupa Goswami's books. And besides the Nectar of Devotion, there is something called the Stavamala, which means a garland of verses about Krishna. And in that Stavamala, I think it's a separate book, he wrote Leela Chanda, which is a nice summary of Krishna's Vrindavan Leela. Wouldn't you like to have a nice poetic version of Krishna's Vrindavan Leela? I mean, English poetry, that maybe summarized it. See, the idea is that you read a little summary, but you've read it so many times that all the details come out, isn't it? If someone says "Gone with the Wind," you may have seen it 6 times. Yeah, I remember that. And you mean you're with the movie, right? This is all you got is the name. So anyway, to make a long story short, I don't want to take too much time. So I was reviewing it. So I worked on it and fixed it up, tidied it up, which is what I do. And I sent that book up to the archives, and it's in the Vedanta Sutra. It's in the database now. You can that book and Govinda Virodavali. I'll give you an example of Virodavali. It's a poetic form in Sanskrit of addressing Krishna directly. And so it's in the form of names, and so you can string along these. It's all metric. It's all in the chanda. You see? Here's an example. I'm not going to give you a full translation, but you get the idea of the form. Goes on like that for like 20 lines. And all of them are beautiful descriptions of Krishna. Amala Kamala means a pure, pristine lotus. Ruchi Kandana Patapada, his expert dancing beautiful lotus feet defeat the beauty of actual lotuses, and goes on like that. So these things can really absorb the mind, just like the Hare Krishna mantra or any of these verses, philosophy verses. But there are also these exquisite creations that describe the name, form, qualities, and pastimes of the Lord and His great devotees. And what do? They help us to fix our mind on Krishna. And the memorization or the chanting of these verses purifies the intelligence. And Krishna within the heart, He's giving us, as He says here, I give them more intelligence by which they can come to me. He's on our side. He wants us to become completely pure. So He gives us all facility. So that's what He's saying here. And just on a broader point, because I was thinking about this, if you recall, those who were here earlier, there are 3 aspects, 3 stages to bhakti. And Lord Chaitanya, in his teaching to Sanatana Goswami in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he says, and in all the Vedas, there's actually nothing but these 3 phases of understanding Krishna. And the first is sambandha. Sambandha, the word bandha is practically the same in English and in Sanskrit. The bond. But it's not bondage and slavery. What is sambandha? Understanding the connection between God and this world and ourselves. Who is God? What is He? That's the first understanding. It's about knowledge. And how did he create this world? What is his relation here? And where do we fit in? What is our position in this world? That's sambandha, the relationship. So that first verse deals with that. Who is God? He's the creator of everything. Aham sarvasya bhabavo mattak sarvam bhavartate. What is he not? He is everything. There's a verse in the Bhagavatam that says, Idam vivishram bhagavan ivetaraha. That's the first line of the verse. So idam vivishram, this universe, creation, is certainly, he means certainly, is Bhagavan. But it seems to be something else. Idam vivishram bhagavan ivetaraha. So how is this world the Lord? Because it's all his energy. Where he's not directly there, we don't see him, but we see his energy. We just don't connect it to him because we're in ignorance. It's just like the sun, right? A little child never thought of the sun, but he knows about the sunshine. His parents took him to the beach, and he knows like that. And then at a certain point, maybe second grade, I don't know, he learns about the sun. There's a big, globe. It's not really that small. It's not as small as a little book. It's huge. I think probably 14,000 times bigger than the Earth, whatever, something like that. And how do we know about the sun? Through the energy, the heat, and the light. We don't see the sun, but we go outside, or we just look out the window. Oh, it's getting light outside. We know the sun must be coming up, right? We haven't seen the sun, but we saw the energy of the sun. So similarly, all of this universe, everything we see, is Krishna shine. There's a sunshine, and there's Krishna shine. I mean, that's his energies. Earth, water, fire, air. He lists them in the 7th chapter. So everything, now, if we understand that, then we can use everything, that we see, including our own intelligence, which is one of the energies, to connect to Krishna. But we have to know the technique, and that's where the acharyas come in. That's where Rupa Goswami comes in, and how to practice bhakti yoga, what to do, what to avoid, the do's and don'ts. So it's a whole process, and the end of it is to become completely absorbed in serving Krishna with love, seeing him everywhere, and trying to give Krishna to as many people as possible, and enjoying amongst the devotees by giving them Krishna and hearing them give Krishna. I had a lady, she came yesterday, she was sitting over there with the mask. You remember that? I didn't recognize her because she had the mask, but it turns out she's from the old days here. From the 80s. And I came in 89, so I remember vaguely, and then I didn't see her much. I couldn't, and afterwards she approached me, and I gave her my email, and she sent me an email, and she was proposing that her deity, which she's had for many, many years, of Govardhanadhari, and she had the beautiful picture of the deity holding up, blackish, about this high, small that you can carry, And she said, yes, he used to participate in the Govardhan Puja celebration here every year, because this is after all New Govardhan, right? It commemorates that past. But then we moved away and we couldn't do it, So I'd like to arrange so that next October, whenever it is, that he can again be put on the altar, maybe, or at least taken around the hill, because he really likes that. She said, So she wrote me that letter. I forwarded to Dharma Setu, who then I think forwarded it to Dayanidhi, and he said, yes, we may not be able to put him on the altar, but he can definitely go around, and we'll put him on the hill. Anyone who hasn't been here for Govardhan, we built a little hill of, where there's a lot of foodstuffs, and everything, and then everyone goes around. It's very ecstatic. So that just shows you that that's that lady, Jana Shakti is her name. She has been taking care of that deity and is devoted to the deity, and now she wants to reintegrate him into the community. It's just delightful. So all of these things, it's way beyond this idea of just you and your mind, wrestling with it. It's utilizing everything that you have in connecting to Krishna. That's bhakti. And it culminates in going back home, back to Godhead, leaving this relative world behind and going to the perfect world of Satchidananda, eternal, blissful life of knowledge. And why do we believe in that? Because we come in this long line of realized souls. Are we going to say, well, Madhvacharya didn't know what he's talking about? What, you think Vyasadeva knew? No, he's just creating. No. These are all very sober and very realized souls, and very towering intellects. And Srila Prabhupada showed in his life that he'd had no material motive in doing it. You know, you get some yogi says, "Oh, there's a market in America now," you know, so I'll come out of it. And then they take advantage of their disciples, and it's all just a money exchange. But Prabhupada never did that. He came with 7 rupees, and then after the 7, 8 years, he had access to millions of dollars. But he didn't say, "Okay, now let me retire." He never retired. He kept traveling even into his, after 80 practically. And his health was failing, but his students, his disciples wanted to see him, and he had this bond. He obviously wasn't doing it for any material reason. Anyone who had 5 minutes of his association, and he said yes, and it's all my spiritual master. And we read about Bhaktisiddhanta as another towering intellect who had a big, and sacrificed so much, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur. I mean, all the lives are available now. And there are all these books are in the database. And the database is free. I can give you the link if you want. So, to move along. So Krishna is responding, because this is what bhakti is. Okay, they're thinking about me, they're talking about me, they're serving me, and now within the heart, he's responding and giving the intelligence by which he can progress. And so I have to share this one verse with you. Because it's all about this, about the intelligence. Kamadinang. Lord Chaitanya taught this to Sanatana Goswami. Kamadinang katina katita padita durnideshas tesham jata mayna karuna nattapano pashanti utrijayata natayotapate sampatam labdha buddhis pamayata kshadunamabayam mamdayung swatmadasye. Now I'm assuming that none of you could understand what that means. So I put it into a poem. In how many ways have I sought to obey the seductive demands of my wicked desires? They've shown me no mercy, yet on I've gone shamelessly trying to quench lust's unquenchable fires. But now I'm rejecting those hellish desires, for my higher intelligence now has awoken. O Krishna, O shelter of fearlessness, please let me serve you with faith that will never be broken. And this illustrates the importance of the intelligence, cultivating intelligence by hearing. When we read these books, it's so doubly auspicious. We are associating directly with Krishna through his words, and through Srila Prabhupada, with Srila Prabhupada through his words. They're non-different from their words. This is the idea. Just as the holy name, inconceivably, is non-different from Krishna himself. And that's why it's so potent. If we actually chant with attention, with as much attention as is possible, mindfulness, then the effect will be that we can feel the spiritual energy and we'll be transformed. And here I am sitting here 51 and a half years later, after I joined, and I can honestly say it wasn't a mistake, and every day it's ever fresh. And every day you can discover new things about Krishna consciousness, about yourself, and on the path back to Godhead. And even if we don't make it back to Godhead in this one lifetime, nothing is lost. There's a verse Prabhupada would always quote right in the 5th chapter, 1st canto. Narada Muni is speaks this to Vyasadeva, and he says, if someone gives up his position in Varnashram, his official duties, material duties, and takes to Bhakti Yoga, but doesn't complete the course and falls away, where is there any loss? Where is there any loss? Because the understanding is that whatever you do in this lifetime will carry off to the next life, in the terms of bhakti. But whatever you do materially, making so much money, a name for yourself, whatever it may be, it's all lost when your body goes. Because the assets you're gaining by practicing Krishna consciousness are spiritual. They're not destructible. But everything else that you related to the body, of course, the body is finished with the body. You go on to some destination, your bank account stays here. Prabhupada says to be enjoyed by somebody else. So why spend all your time trying to build up your bank account? Build up your spiritual bank account. All right. So in this verse, it said, because my higher intelligence now has awoken, now I'm realizing that I've been serving these false masters, and I'm not going to do it anymore. But I have to serve. So I'm asking you, Krishna, please let me serve you. I know that you'll never cheat me. Why would he cheat? He has everything already. He just wants to bless us and welcome us back after a long, long time away from home. All right, so Krishna is reciprocating now with the sincere devotee. And then the last verse we'll read also, text 11. Tesham. Now he says Tesham, both verses of Tesham, and that refers to the sincere devotees who are described in text 9. Tesham evanakam partham aham ajnanajam tamaha nashayam yatma bhavasto jnanadipena bhasvata. To show them, those who are serving me with love and devotion, to show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. Purport. When Lord Chaitanya was in Benares promulgating the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, thousands of people were following him. Prakashananda Saraswati, a very influential and learned scholar in Benares at that time, derided Lord Chaitanya for being a sentimentalist. Sometimes Mayavadi philosophers criticize the devotees because they think that most of the devotees are in the darkness of ignorance and are philosophically naive sentimentalists. Actually, that is not the fact. There are very, very learned scholars who have put forward the philosophy of devotion, but even if a devotee does not take advantage of their literatures or of his spiritual master, if he is sincere in his devotional service, he is helped by Krishna himself within his heart. So the sincere devotee engaged in Krishna consciousness cannot be without knowledge. The only qualification is that one carry out devotional service in full Krishna consciousness. The Mayavadi philosophers think that without discriminating, one cannot have pure knowledge. For them, this answer is given by the Supreme Lord. Those who are engaged in pure devotional service, even though they be without sufficient education, sufficient means much, advanced here, and even without much knowledge of the Vedic principles, are still helped by the Supreme God, as stated in this verse. The Lord tells Arjuna that basically there is no possibility of understanding the Supreme Truth, the Absolute Truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, simply by speculating. For the Supreme Truth is so great that it is not possible to understand Him or to achieve Him simply by making a mental effort. Man can go on speculating for several millions of years, and if he is not devoted, if he is not a lover of the Supreme Truth, he will never understand Krishna or the Supreme Truth. Only by devotional service is the Supreme Truth, Krishna, pleased, and by his inconceivable energy, he can reveal himself to the heart of the pure devotee. The pure devotee always has Krishna within his heart, and with the presence of Krishna, who is just like the sun, the darkness of ignorance is at once dissipated. This is the special mercy rendered to the pure devotee of Krishna. Due to the contamination of material association through many, many millions of births, one's heart is always covered with the dust of materialism. But when one engages in devotional service and constantly chants Hare Krishna, the dust quickly clears, and one is elevated to the platform of pure knowledge. The ultimate goal, Vishnu, can be attained only by this chant and by devotional service, and not by mental speculation or argument. The pure devotee does not have to worry about the material necessities of life. He need not be anxious, because when he removes the darkness from his heart, everything is provided automatically by the Supreme Lord, who is pleased by the loving devotional service of the devotee. This is the essence of the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. By studying the Bhagavad Gita, one can become a soul completely surrendered to the Supreme Lord and engage himself in pure devotional service. As the Lord takes charge, one becomes completely free from all kinds of materialistic endeavors. So, Prabhupada's wonderful purports here. And the idea is that, first of all, just this one contemplation on the Sanskrit here. Tesham eva anukampartam. Now, those who have been to Mangalartik, maybe even though if you haven't been to Mangalartik, you may know what the word kampa means, right? Mahaprabho kirtana nritya gita swadvana triptan hari bhakti sanghan swadistamajan manasora sena. Romancha kampa. You see? Romancha kampa shutaranga bhajo. So the hair standing on end, Roma. Ashru taranga is the waves of tears. And kampa, trembling. Here the word anukampa is used. You see that? Eva anukampa artam. To show special mercy. Kampa, anukampa means trembling in sympathy with someone else. So Krishna is feeling, he's right there. He knows exactly how we feel. And so he's out of his empathy. This is the perfection of empathy. He destroys any remaining darkness of ignorance in our heart. He does it personally because he's already there. So it's all because of love. There's a wonderful verse by Brahma in his prayers to Krishna in the 14th chapter of the 10th canto. He says, Tapite deva padambujadriya prasada leshanu evahi gyanati tattvam bhagavan mahimno nachani eko pichadam bichinva. So, if without a little bit of mercy of your lotus feet, no one can really understand you. You see? Atapite deva badambuja dvaya prasada. Prasada means the grace. Prasada lesha, just a little. Lesha anugadehevi gyanati tattvam. Without that grace, one can investigate for millions of years, but he cannot get the truth of the knowledge. The knowledge will be revealed. So the point is that Krishna reserves the right of being hidden from the non-devotees. And we can know that because most of us in this room, I know myself, was certainly at one point a total non-devotee, and I didn't know anything about Krishna. I thought God was just a myth, was just the opium of the people. Does that sound familiar? Marxism. Yeah, see, I was saved by Prabhupada. I was also saved from impersonalism. I was very involved with a certain mission, very prominent, who were, and I bought the Shankaracharya's, the Sharika Bhashya translation, but I never read it. Anyway, the temple there in Brooklyn, going there, I was going there and going the other place, and gradually I said, and this thing of like how the impersonalists say, oh, the emotional devotees, you know, that this bhakti is for the lower class who aren't into the gyan, they can't understand the gyan, you know, that's the knowledge. So I got that. Said, oh no, he knew I was going to this the head of this mission, and he was trying to recruit me, you know. Said, oh, don't go there. That's for the emotional masses. You know, the real thing is gyan. You know, gyan. You know. There's plenty of gyan here, but it's all in service of bhakti. You see, knowing that Krishna is the ultimate truth, the all attractive Lord. Well, let me know more about how does he look? What's his name? Where does he live? How can I? You know, that's knowledge too. So that's out of his empathy, his sympathy, his love for his devotees, he destroys the darkness in the heart. And that darkness is what's keeping us here, that ignorance. And all of the different impurities in the abhadras. You remember, there's a similar verse in the second chapter, first canto, about hearing the sound, the purifying sound. Shrinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtanak Ridyantaksto Yabadhani Vidunoti Suritsatam. It's the same idea. Where Krishna is being described. Swakata, when he understands the devotees are hearing and chanting about him, and it all begins, the essential of the Hare Krishna Sankirtan, you know. Shinvatam Sukata Punya Shravanakid, which is auspicious to hear and chant. Just by hearing and chanting it, you become pious. Ridyantaksto, situated in the heart. Abhadrani vidunoti. Abhadras are the lust, the anger, the ignorance, the doubts, the obsessions, the addictions, whatever else is in your heart that doesn't belong there and that obscures your real nature. He cleanses it away to the degree that you're absorbed in hearing and chanting. Ridyansak abhadani vidunoti. Why? Suritsatam. And this is because he's a personalist. We're the impersonalists. You know, we need to become total personalists. But Krishna, he's there, he's surit. Such an important word. Prabhupada would sign all the letters, your ever well-wisher, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. He's got it from this verse, from the surit word. Means your best friend that could possibly be. Surit. Rit means in the heart. you see. And that He always has our best interest at mind. And sometimes it's hard to understand because we suffer. This happens, or some calamity happens. How could that be if God was so? Yes, but don't forget the karma. Nobody's innocent in this world. Just because they may look innocent, but we all carry a whole thing. So if some disaster happens, the devotee understands, oh, Krishna's so kind. I deserve so much more, but I just broke my arm. I could have lost my arm. I could have died. Krishna is minimizing it. Therefore, you maintain your positive view of Krishna. Because He really is. He's teaching us. He's teaching us. The difficulty in this world are meant to convince us, don't stay around here. You don't have to. Just come to me. Think of me, worship me, chant this mantra, purify your heart, and you can be successful. So, it's getting late. Is there any discussion on this? We can have a few minutes of discussion and then a few minutes of poems, more poems. I'll share with you my meditation before. And actually we can learn one. There's a one-line poem that I can teach you tonight. Here it is. I beg to be blessed by the best of the bliss-filled boys of Vrindavan Dham. What's not to like? I beg to be blessed by the best of the blissful boys of Vrindavan Dham. Now it's not Vrindavan, it's Vrindavan. You can say with the B, so you want another B. So who's the best? Who's that best of the blissful boys? It's Krishna. So you can offer that to Krishna, even though it's created by me, but I think it'll pass. I beg to be blessed by the best of the blissful boys of Vrindavan Dham. I'll say it. I'll say a few. I beg to be blessed by the best of the bliss-filled boys of Vrindavan Dham. Got it? All right, David, let's hear it. I beg to be blessed by the best of the boys of blissful boys. Blissful boys of Vrindavan. Okay. Who wants to try it? You got it down.
I beg to be blessed by the best of the blissful boys of Vrindavan.
Haribol! You see? So next time you can offer that to Krishna. You'll see. Even though it comes from me. All right. Any questions, comments? We have a little time. I'm going to give you some.
Chatushloki Bhagavatam that you referred to when you were describing the.
Oh,
And you mentioned like the ahameva same vagre nanyad.
Yat
Paschadaham yadit chayo. So is that like, I mean, are those the few Chatushloki Bhagavatam, those 4 verses, are they the only ones that are spoken by Krishna, Lord Krishna in Bhagavatam, or there are
not at all? No, he has a whole Uddhava Gita, which is longer than the Bhagavad Gita.
Right. So there are several places where
there are other places where Krishna speaks, but this is understood to be the original Bhagavatam spoken to Brahma, who then expanded upon it, and then
How is this linked to Vedanta Sutra?
Well, very obviously, because Vedanta Sutra enjoins us to inquire into the absolute truth, right? And what is Brahman? Atato Brahma Jigyasa. And what is it? Janmadyasya yataha. That from which everything emanates, the birth of everything, the source, Jan and Adi, and therefore which sustains everything and ultimately destroys everything. That's what we should do. And here Krishna is saying, ahame vasame vagre. He's saying before there was any manifestation of material world, I existed. Right. And therefore he must be the source of it. Right? So you're right in line with the Vedanta Sutra.
This is also quite similar to verse 8 of
I know. This is very similar. Yeah, aham sarvasya bhavavo, ahame vasame vagre. Yeah, it's the same idea, which reinforces it. All right, here's one more. Now, unfortunately, this is not a poem either, but this is just a line and you can find it in the database. It's part of the Leela Chanda, Rupa Goswami's summary of Vrindavan Leela. I highly recommend it. And actually, there's several clickable verses on there where my poems are in the database. I put them in there before I sent it up, so why not? I did the first 3, but this is near the beginning. So the verse is like this. It says, Nabhishashulila langitahayana garga vishkata nama rasayana ring namandata nandanaketa munanimatapata gorka the chaitana. Everything rhymes in this thing. So the verse is, Nabashishu Lila. So Shishu is a little baby, 0 to maybe 3 or 2. So Krishna was killing demons from, when he was 6 months old, from Putana, right? There's Putana, Shakatasura, there's a cart demon. I won't get into the details, those who know the pastime. And of course, Vritrasura, not Vritrasura, Trinavarta, the whirlwind demon, the tornado demon. So after those wonderful pastimes, and this is after that, Nabashishu Lila, after a year of that, that's in a year old, performing these. Langita Haina, Garga Vishtika Nama Rasayana. Gargamuni came and gave him the names, and they told him about, who he was in past. So, and meanwhile, while this is going on, Ringanamanda the Nanda Naketa and the Monanimatapa the Gokula Chaitanya. This is one of my favorite lines of all time. Ringana means to crawl. Mandita means to decorate. Nanda Niketana means the courtyard of Nanda. So with his crawling, he's decorating the courtyard of Nanda. Ringana Mandita Nanda Niketana. And Modolima, with his sweet beauty and his aspect. Modolima Tarpata is delighting Gokula Chaitanya, the consciousness of all the residents of Gokula. Isn't that cool? I'll say it again, try to get the meaning. Ringana Mandita Nanda Niketa, the Modolima Tarpata Gokula Chaitanya. Okay, one more. Now this is not a poem, but this is a verse Prabhupada quotes twice in one purport in the matter of 2 paragraphs. There's no other place where he does that. And it has also about Krishna crawling. It's about Krishna crawling. So it's like this. Shrutamapade smitamitade bharatamane bhajanda bhavabhita ahamayanandam bande yasyalinde padam brahma. So some, fearing birth and death, they worship the Shrutis. The Vedas like that, Vedanta Sutra. And some worship the Smritis in different Puranas, but not Bhagavad Purana. And some, fearing birth and death, they worship the Mahabharata and the Bhagavad Gita. That's all well and good, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm worshipping Nanda Maharaj. Ahame Nandam Bande. Why? Yasyalinde Param Brahma, in whose courtyard the Supreme Brahman is crawling. So why should I bother with all this other stuff? Let me just worship Nanda Maharaj and go straight. All right, we have to get ready for Artik. We'll resume on Monday. Thank you all for coming. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I'll send you all these verses if you really want to learn them. It's not impossible.